For this exercise, we're going to revisit the video that I did a while ago where I rendered the sphere. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this image and we're going to convert it over into a pen and ink technique called stippling. So I'm going to walk you through the process on how to do that. I'm going to show you the materials that you need to use and just how you develop the drawing. So again, across the top we have a value scale that goes from dark to light and gradients. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps across. I'm sorry, 7 steps across, where it goes from the darkest on the left to the lightest on the right. Basically, this is the white of the paper, and this is as dark as I want to go. So it's an arbitrary range from the white to this level of dark. I could have chosen a little darker, a little lighter, but it's up to you. So we're going to do the sphere. I'm going to show you the process on how to build it up gradually. We're going to do it across the top first. So I'm going to show you the materials that we're going to be using. I have some samples of the inking of pens that I have. The cheapest is probably the Sharpie or probably the pen. Ballpoint pen won't really cut it because the dots that you make with a ballpoint pen are really, really small. So you can see that I'm making dots here, but they're just tiny and they're difficult to pick up. The one you guys probably have and the most easily available is the Sharpie, which puts through like this. The dots are a little big. I don't love the Sharpie. I'm going to use the Sharpie just because they're a little faster. The downside about a Sharpie is that it bleeds through the paper, so you can see that it actually came through the other side. So we're using heavier cardstock, so that's okay, but typically Sharpies, they bleed through the paper, so if you're going to be doing something in a sketchbook, it's always good to have an extra page underneath. So if you want to step up your game a little bit, there's a couple other ones that you can get. This is the Pilot that I like quite a bit. These are about $1.50 each. You can get packs of 3 of these. The dots are a little bit bigger, and these do not bleed. So you'll see if I flip this one over, they did not come through, so it's just a little bit nicer. Well, maybe it came, no, it didn't, right here. This is where I just inked, so you can see that they don't come through like the Sharpie does. If you want to go up a little higher, you have the Stadler. These are nice pens, but you can get these in a lot of different places, and they make nice dots, and it doesn't bleed as much. These are the ones a lot of cartoonists and illustrators use, the Micron pens, the Sakura, Pigma, or there's a couple different similar manufacturers. These are probably the best quality. The ink is very nice in there too, so it's very dark and Pigma rich. So, but I'm going to use the Sharpie just because I want to do this relatively quick. So for this one, we're going to use this reference sheet, which is available online, but I'm going to be handing this out in the class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start across the top. I'm not going to do regular speed, so I'm going to shift back and forth between regular speed and sped up just to show you how to develop this. So at regular speed, I'm just going to start laying in dots. And if you notice, I don't just make this one dark. I'm putting in a little here. This is always going to be the white of the paper, so there's nothing going to go in here. So I'm just going to put a couple dots in here. And that's it. So this one's done, that one's done. Now my goal is to make this one a little darker than that one. So the way I'm doing that is I'm adding just more dots. And one way you can think about it is the space between the dots is bigger here than here. So this one is going to give the, excuse me, the illusion that it's a little bit darker. Than that one. So this one has about twice as many dots as this one, and you can see this is lightest, a little darker, a little darker. Now my goal is to make each one of these progressively darker, so now I'm going to go up into a high speed, so just hold on to your seats. So that's about 11 minutes worth of drawing. Now I sped up the center part just so you wouldn't have to sit there and watch me making dots one by one. So you can see it goes from very dark to the white of the paper. So kind of, if you want to think about it, we're doubling the number of dots as we move down. Now you'll notice here, I didn't go and color the whole thing in black. I left some of the white showing through just to add a little visual interest. If you just color this in all black, it just gets very flat looking. So I always like to leave some of the white of the paper showing through for these exercises. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I'm going to say for this exercise, let's leave some of the white of the paper. So this is not totally colored in 100%. So I'd say that's probably 92% colored in. And this is probably 85%, 75, 50%, 20%, 10%, and then 0. So it just kind of gradually goes from light to dark. Okay, so now if you want to compare it to the original where we go from dark to light here, it's not an exact copy, but this is an interpretation. So this is what I'm hoping you'll do, is you're going to use this for reference. Okay, now I'm going to start working on the sphere. You'll notice I went very lightly with the lines on this. Normally I would go even lighter on this. Some of the printouts that I have, this will come even lighter gray, but this is a learning exercise. This isn't necessarily making something beautiful. So I'm going to start going in. We want to set up a relationship where we have the background is darker than the object, and then the shadow underneath is also darker than the object, and that will give the illusion that this object pops forward. So this is going to be lighter, darker, lighter, darker, and we're going to maintain that throughout like we do have in the reference. So I'm going to pull the reference out to talk about this. So we go from dark to light to dark in the background to create this contrast, 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 and that gives the illusion of it popping forward. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to speed it up in a second. So again, dark to light, dark to light, dark to light. We have contrast, and then within the object, we go light, dark, lighter, lightest. So we constantly use the reference on this and go from there. Okay, so I'm going to start speeding it up now, and then we'll finish it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work for this on about a half an hour, and then I'm going to scan it in every 15 minutes, just a still image, so you can see how it develops. So I'm going to work on this for about half an hour, 15 minutes or so, and then I'm going to just do stages where I develop it.